everyone. Still a couple of minutes before we start, but we will start very soon. Great seeing many participants joining us in Zoom. If you are watching us on the YouTube channel, we still have space available in Zoom, so you may choose to join us via Zoom, but it's up to you, and we will be happy to address you on both channels, obviously. Okay, so it's 2:01. Welcome everyone. I think it's early afternoon for most of us, and it's early in the morning for our today's presenter, Chad. It's my great pleasure to welcome you at the very first live lesson of our English teaching assistants, who kindly agreed to prepare a couple of online lessons on US-themed Maturita topics to spice up the Maturita preparation many of you are working on at this moment. So a couple of technical things before I pass the word to Chad. And if you see me clicking here, I'm still admitting more guests into the room. So I apologize for that. But I would like to warn you that we are recording this lesson, but we are just recording the presenters. So don't worry, either myself or Chad will be on the video. Interactivity will be limited. We asked you to mute yourself so that we avoid noise, but we will, on the other hand, welcome to see your reactions. So if you have your camera available and if you are okay with sharing your camera, we would be happy to see you as well. And I would like to introduce our today's presenter, Chad, who is joining us from Detroit. He's currently an e-learning specialist at the Wayne State University in Detroit. 2 years ago, Chad was an English teaching assistant at a technical school in Chomutov. After the year-long Fulbright grant in the Czech Republic, he spent almost another full year teaching English in China. And at the outbreak of the pandemic in February 2020, he moved back to the US and later got this job at the Detroit University. So great pleasure having Chad here. And I am passing the word to Detroit across the Atlantic.
Thank you very much, Christina. Dobrý den, dámy a pánové. Welcome to today's live lesson. Today we will be focusing on holidays in the USA, and feel free to ask any questions in the chat throughout the presentation. I'm happy to answer your questions. And my goal for all of you today is I hope you will come out of today's lesson with two things. Number one, I hope you will all learn some new vocabulary words. And number two, I hope you all will learn something new and interesting about holiday traditions and customs in the United States that you haven't known beforehand. So let's go ahead and get started. So a little bit of information about myself. So I was born and raised in Michigan, which is this red state all the way up in the north here. I am actually closer to Canada than I am to any other state in the US. I live right about here. It's about a 45-minute drive over the border to Canada. And as Christina mentioned, I did teach at a technical school in Chomutov. Here is the picture of the school where I taught. I was very fortunate to have some amazing colleagues there and some very bright students that I got to work with. And as Christina mentioned, I am an e-learning specialist at Wayne State. This may look a little bit like Hogwarts from Harry Potter, but this is actually one of the main buildings on campus. And just some interesting, a little interesting fact about Czech food. My favorite Czech foods are svíčková and nakladený hermelín. I really miss both of those foods, and I hope at some point I can return to the Czech Republic and have lots of great svíčková and pickled hermelín as well. So welcome, everyone. This is just a very brief introduction about myself, and if you have any other questions, feel free to let me know. In my free time, I also really enjoy playing music. I've been playing guitar since I was about the age of 10, and so that's what I like to do in my free time when I'm not teaching or learning. So I wanted to begin today's lesson with a few tips for all of you, whether you are a student or a teacher. I think these tips can be very helpful for all of you regarding the Maturita. If you are a teacher, I would recommend telling your students these tips. If you're a student, I would recommend applying these. So the biggest challenge, I think, for many students with the Maturita speaking section is they feel very nervous and pressured because they have to prepare something in a short period of time. And so what I have noticed with the students that I worked with in Chomutov, it really seemed to help if the students had 2 or 3 really important main ideas in their talk, and then they based and structured their talk on those 2 to 3 different points. So if we are talking about holidays, you could think of 2 to 3 points. One point might be the origin of the holiday. So why do we celebrate the holiday? Number 2 might be some customs and traditions. So how do we celebrate the holiday, right? And then your third point could be then a comparison between the customs and traditions in the Czech Republic or in the United States or the UK. And I always think it's a great idea for students to share what they find interesting, to share why would they like to celebrate a holiday, or maybe why not. I think it's really important for students to add that level of kind of personality in their discussion. It's really important for students to share why they would like to celebrate a holiday, what they find interesting. And so I think this can really help our students succeed during the speaking portion of the Maturita. And obviously having a good compare and contrast between customs, between traditions can be helpful. And also too, if the holiday is not common in the Czech Republic, you can talk about what holidays might be similar, because we will be discussing some holidays today that are definitely not very popular or not celebrated in the Czech Republic. So you can think about what might be an equivalent or a similar holiday. So I hope these points are clear for everyone. And as I said, if you have any questions, you are welcome to post them in the chat, and I am happy to answer them for you. So now let me show all of you what holidays we will be talking about today. I will tell you all, these are not all of the holidays in the United States, but these are kind of really the most popular and the main celebrated holidays in the US. And the reason why we're talking about these holidays is because I think it's much more likely that students will have an opportunity to speak about these in the Maturita than some very random holiday that not many people know about. So I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with some of these holidays. And I hope today during our lesson, you will be able to deepen your knowledge a little bit and learn a little bit more about some of these holidays. I have a feeling that most of you are familiar with Halloween probably. Also maybe bits and pieces of Thanksgiving. Obviously Christmas. However, we will be talking about some of the differences with Christmas in the US and in the Czech Republic. Valentine's Day, I'm sure some of you are also familiar with. Probably not as many of you are familiar with St. Patrick's Day. Maybe you know a little bit. And obviously Easter is a practiced holiday in the Czech Republic. And the holiday we will end with today is the 4th of July, which is definitely a very popular holiday in the United States. And it is also known as Independence Day. All right, so now I also want to give you all a list of vocabulary, and I will read through all of these words so you can hear the pronunciation of them. And if there are any words that you do not know, feel free to write them in the chat and I would be happy to explain them. If this was actually an in-person class with my students and we had more time, we would be doing some games and activities to learn these, but in the online format, it's a little more difficult to coordinate that. So I will go through these, and if there are any vocabulary words you do not know or you would like more explanation, please write them in the chat. So we'll get started with leprechaun. And for those of you who do not know what a leprechaun is basically a figure in Irish folklore. It's usually this very small man who wears like a kind of a silly looking hat and generally has red hair and a little red beard. And what the leprechauns are famous for is if you follow a leprechaun, you will find a pot of gold. So they're supposed to be considered good luck. I'm sure most of you know what a ghost is, right? This is like a spirit or a creature that is dead and haunts you, right? Four-leaf clover. A clover is a specific type of plant. Usually they're three-leafed, but four-leaf clovers are considered lucky. I'm sure most of you know who Santa Claus is. He's also known as Father Christmas or Kris Kringle. Santa Claus is obviously the figure for Christmas. If any of you have experienced New Year's in the Czech Republic, all of you are very familiar with fireworks, so I won't explain that vocabulary word. Also, I'm sure most of you know what eggs are and also what turkeys are. Jack-o'-lanterns are basically, it's a carved pumpkin that Americans will decorate for Halloween. I'm sure many of you have heard the phrase trick or treat before. This is like a traditional phrase we use during Halloween. And then a reindeer is just an animal that is associated with Christmas. I'm sure most of you know what a flag is, right? And there's one holiday in specifics that flag is really connected to. Now, a secret admirer, this might be something that some of you are not aware of. A secret admirer is simply a person who has romantic feelings for you, but you are not aware of it. Therefore, it is a secret. And so I'm sure some of you maybe can predict which holiday you might encounter a secret admirer. A chimney is a place in a house where generally where you would build a fire and then the smoke escapes the house through the chimney. And I would like all of you to consider or think about which US holiday might be related to a chimney. So it's a place in a house where the smoke escapes the house. And then we have Cupid. Cupid is, I don't remember if Cupid is the Roman or Greek god of love, but they are considered the god of love. Cupid has a magical bow and arrow, and if you are hit with Cupid's arrow, as they say, then you will fall in love. An elf is basically Santa's little helper. So the elves, we'll talk more about those later when we talk about the individual holidays. And the last word is thankful. Now, for the teachers tuning in today, I will tell you, in my classes, I try to have about 10 vocabulary words, 10 target words. As you can see, we do have more than 10 words today. That is because I figured a lot of you were familiar with a few of these words already. So if I knew these, or if I predicted that these 10 words would probably be completely new for many of you, then I would only have 10. But I'm sure most of you are familiar with the word ghost. Obviously, you're familiar with the word eggs and turkey, probably thankful as well, and flag. So some of these other terms are here to supplement that. So those are our holiday vocabulary words for today. Now what I would like all of you to do in the chat, or you can also just write these down. I would like you to take a few minutes. I'll give all of you, we'll say about 2 to 3 minutes. See if you can match up the vocabulary words with the holidays. So the easiest way to do this is obviously just write the holiday and then write any words that are connected to it. So I will give everyone a few minutes to work on these, and then afterwards we will talk about the answers. So I'll give you all 2 to 3 minutes. If you have any questions, you are welcome to write them in the chat. Okay, very good. Okay. All right, we have a few for Halloween already coming in. That's great. So yes, so Halloween, the vocabulary words are ghost, trick or treat, and also jack-o'-lantern. Very good, very good. Fantastic. Now I wonder which words you all would associate with Thanksgiving. And for the teachers out there, this is a really good type of prediction activity you can do as a warm-up in your classes to get your students thinking about holidays, talking about holidays, and excited for the lesson's topic. So Daniel says, Christmas, Santa, chimney, reindeer, elf. Very good. Very good, Lucy. Thank you. Valentine's Day, Cupid, secret admirer. Absolutely. Mathieu said 4th of July, fireworks and flag. Yes, absolutely. Very good. Yeah, I wonder which vocabulary words some of you will have some difficulty with. Good, Easter, eggs, absolutely, absolutely. Yes, and this is a similar tradition in the Czech Republic and the United States. Sadly, I don't remember the Easter song anymore. It was something like Dejte vejte malovani. I don't remember anymore. It's been a few years, but Easter eggs, definitely good. Thanksgiving, turkey and thankful, very good. Lucy said St. Patrick's Day, four-leaf clover and leprechaun, fantastic. Valentine's Day and Cupid, absolutely. Very good, very good. Okay, so for the sake of time, I will go over all of these. Daniel mentions Christmas and Krampus, very good. If you are in Germany, Austria, or well, do you have Krampus in the Czech Republic, Christina? I know you have Michael's Day, which has the angel and the devil. Is the devil considered Krampus?
Sometimes it is, but it's also quite new to me.
Mm-hmm. Oh, interesting. Okay. Well, thank you. Okay, so let me go through these. So yeah, so Halloween, the words that are associated are ghost, jack-o'-lantern, and trick or treat. So very, very good. Trick or treat is the phrase children say when they get candy, right? Thanksgiving, the words that are associated with Thanksgiving are turkey and thankful. You could also argue maybe eggs could fit in this category because we do sometimes have eggs for Thanksgiving as a side dish. Christmas, Santa Claus, obviously, reindeer and elves or elf, very good. Valentine's Day would be Cupid and secret admirer. St. Patrick's Day would be leprechaun and four-leaf clover. Easter would be eggs. I think that's really the only one for Easter. Yeah, is eggs. Oh, my apologies. Christmas also, another word is chimney. And 4th of July is, the main one is flag and fireworks. Flag and fireworks. Good. Okay. So very good, everyone. So I hope some of these were maybe some new vocabulary words for all of you. So now let's actually go and talk more specifically about each holiday. And you are welcome to ask me questions about the holidays as I explain them, or if you would like to wait till the end, I am fine with either. So when talking about holidays, I think there are really three main things to consider. Number one is when is the holiday? Number two would be the origins, and number three would be the traditions or celebrations. So we'll start with Halloween, which is my all-time favorite American holiday, and it happens at the end of November on October 31st. And here you all can see a picture of a few spooky or scary jack-o'-lanterns, and this one obviously has the very famous phrase, trick or treat. Now, some of you may be thinking or wondering, why do we have jack-o'-lanterns? And the historical reason for jack-o'-lanterns goes all the way back to the Irish, where they would actually carve turnips, which is another type of vegetable. They would carve turnips and they would put a candle inside to have them light up like this to keep away evil spirits. So Halloween is a holiday that is supposed to be a little bit scary. So the origins of Halloween were, the belief was that Halloween was a time period where evil spirits could return back to our world. And so that is why we have Halloween as more of a scarier holiday. In the past, it was actually a holiday celebrated to celebrate the autumn harvest. but now we obviously celebrate it in a very different manner. We will have very crazy Halloween decorations on our houses. One of my favorites is a lot of people will have a spider in front of their door, and it has a motion sensor. So if someone walks to the door, the spider will drop and fall in front of the door and give you a little scare or startle you. So Halloween is definitely a scary holiday, but it can also be a very fun holiday as well. And so the origins of Halloween actually go all the way back to Ireland. And really the main reason why we celebrated Halloween was to celebrate All Hallows Eve. And I believe you have something in the Czech Republic called All Saints Day, Dušičky, if I remember correctly. My apologies, everyone. It's been a few years since I've spoken any Czech, and my Czech is definitely not very proficient. But anyway, so All Hallows Eve is really the origin of Halloween. And this was a day to remember the dead. So you would go to the cemetery, for example, and you would pay respect to your ancestors and your family members. Now Halloween has changed a lot. And so the question really is, what do we do for Halloween? As all of you know, trick or treat is a big one. But the first thing most Americans do is we carve jack-o'-lanterns. And I can tell all of you, when I was a student in school, it was very common for us to even have pumpkin carvings in class. I'm not sure if children still do that. I'm not sure if they're allowed to, but when I was a child, that was very common in American schools, where we would all get a small pumpkin and we would carve it in class. What some teachers will do to avoid the messiness of carving pumpkins, because it can be very messy, is some teachers will also just have students, they will cut out a pumpkin and have the students draw their own jack-o'-lanterns. And traditionally, jack-o'-lanterns were supposed to have a scary face, kind of like this one, because it was to keep the evil spirits away. Nowadays, many people will have cute jack-o'-lanterns or funny jack-o'-lanterns. And jack-o'-lanterns can be a great way to have your students express their creativity. And most Americans will leave the jack-o'-lantern in front of their house. If they have a porch or a deck, they will put them on the porch or the deck for everyone to see. And then for Halloween, as all of you probably know, we usually will wear a lot of different costumes. Traditionally, people would wear monster-type costumes, witches, bats, zombies, werewolves. Obviously, now we have a lot of different options for costumes. So now I'd like to take just a minute or two and ask everyone, you can respond in the chat, what costume would you wear if you celebrated Halloween? So if we had a Halloween party, it would be a virtual one to stay safe, but if we had a virtual Halloween party, what costume would you wear? Yeah, feel free to share your ideas in the chat. I would love to see some of your ideas. And just so all of you know, some people also will wear a couple's costume. So with their boyfriend or girlfriend, they might wear a matching costume, which also can be very funny. A friend of mine was Salt and his girlfriend was Pepper. So they were salt and pepper shakers for Halloween. So that was a really cute, costume. All right, let me check the chat really quickly. Petra says a vampire, a bat. Oh, Mathieu, that's funny. None, I look like a monster myself. It's funny Mathieu mentions this because there's a very popular shirt in America. It's an orange t-shirt and it just says, "This is my costume." So some people will wear that on Halloween kind of as a joke, saying they already look scary enough. So that is funny. I like your sense of humor, Mathieu. Yes, a zombie, a witch. Okay, good. Yeah, there's a lot of different ideas here. And really with Halloween costumes, there tend to be a few different types. Generally, people will go for a very scary costume, sometimes a funny costume, and some people prefer to wear, the most appropriate way to say it would be a more revealing costume, where, you know, they are showing a little bit of skin. But anyways, so let's move on. So during Halloween, but the children, I would say ages really all the way down to 1 or 2 years old, probably up to the age of 14. go trick-or-treating. And so you go to each house, you knock on the door, and you say trick or treat, and then someone will give you candy. Now, the funny thing is culturally, there's always one or two houses that will give you an apple, a toothbrush, and some toothpaste, or some dental floss, or something like this. As most of you can probably imagine, these houses are not very popular for many of the American children. And a lot of the children, it's very funny to watch. When they go trick-or-treating, they'll kind of congregate, or they'll group together and talk to each other and say, okay, which house is giving the best candy? So they have a strategy to get some of the best candy. I still do not know to this day how I do not have tons of cavities or diabetes after all of the candy I ate as a child during Halloween. But it's very popular, and what most children will do is they have, as you can see here, they'll have some type of bag or basket or bucket, and they will fill it with candy. The children will run home, usually empty out their bucket in their room, and then sort through the candy, and generally eat a lot of it during Halloween night. So, as we mentioned, we do say trick or treat. And so you may be wondering, well, what are some of the tricks? Obviously, the treats are very clear, right? You get some type of candy or sweets. But I will tell you that most people in the United States, I mean, tricks are not, most people will give you candy, so I wouldn't spend too much time teaching your students about the tricks. But this is just an example of one trick that can happen if you say trick or treat and no one offers any candy. Now, you may be wondering, what do some families do if they don't want to participate in Halloween? Most people know in the United States, if you have the lights off in your house, and if there's no porch light on or no one outside, generally most people know to avoid the house. Now, I'm not saying that if you avoid Halloween that you will be a victim of tricks. Generally, this would be if someone came to your house, asked for candy, and you did not give them any candy. Okay, and the biggest thing about Halloween as you get older is there are a lot of costume parties. And I can tell all of you costume parties can be a lot of fun. In the United States, a lot of people will either do this, like have a house party, or you can go to like a nightclub or a disco. And many of these parties will also have a costume competition or a contest. So they will have a vote who has the best best costume. So that's also a really fun aspect about Halloween in the US. All right, and one last thing about Halloween is, and I'm not sure why we actually celebrate this tradition, but, and maybe now with COVID, it will change a little bit. I hope it does. But this is a really popular activity. I can tell you when I was in school, we always had a bucket of water and some apples. And when you bob for apples, it simply means you put your hands behind your back and you try to grab the apple only with your teeth and pull it out of the water. It's actually very difficult. And then obviously after you grab the apple, the prize is the apple, so you eat the apple. In my opinion, it's a lot of work just to have an apple for a snack. All right. Now let's talk about Thanksgiving. So as I mentioned, one of the important aspects about discussing holidays, whether it be for the Maturita or anything else, is when the holiday occurs. And so Thanksgiving is a strange one. Thanksgiving doesn't have a set date, as in like the 11th or the 16th, but Thanksgiving always occurs on the 4th Thursday of November. I had many students think it was on the last Thursday. Depending on the calendar year, it's not always on the last Thursday. So just be aware of that. But yeah, so obviously the progression is Halloween, and then next comes Thanksgiving. And so the history of Thanksgiving, this is kind of in the US, it's a little bit of a controversial topic because of the way it was traditionally taught. Basically, the short version of the history is that there was a big disagreement with the English church. And so the pilgrims were these people here, the ones wearing black and blue, basically obviously the white Europeans, right? These were the ones that decided to leave England and come to the US. They took a very famous ship called the Mayflower and they landed in Plymouth, Massachusetts. Now, if it weren't for the Native Americans, a lot of the pilgrims would have died, and many of them did die of starvation. They didn't know how to properly hunt, how to grow crops in the new land in the United States. But really the kind of the thing we celebrate about Thanksgiving is the feast. So Thanksgiving, I can tell all of you, it is taught as this kind of happy, joyous, harmonious event where the Native Americans and the Pilgrims all sat together and had a nice meal. Historically, I don't think that is necessarily 100% accurate, but they did help each other out, the Native Americans and the Pilgrims, and that's what we celebrate. And believe it or not, actually the president who made Thanksgiving a national holiday was Abraham Lincoln. So that's kind of an extra little fun fact for all of you. And so now on Thanksgiving, what do we do? Really, if I were to boil Thanksgiving down to 2 words, if I were to try to really condense it to 2 words, I would use 2 F words, which are family and food. I think family and food are really the main aspects of Thanksgiving. You meet with your family. Many Americans will complain about their crazy aunt or their crazy uncle during Thanksgiving and say, oh no, I have to go see Uncle George again and listen to all of his crazy stories, right? But that is really the main part of Thanksgiving, is meeting with family and then having a large dinner. And some families will go around the table and say something that they're thankful for every year. And a lot of families also might say a quick Thanksgiving prayer before they eat. And so now I'm sure all of you are wondering, and I hope you already ate lunch today. I hope you did. It's already 2 o'clock. So I hope you ate lunch, because now we will be talking about some Thanksgiving food. And so I hope you're not too hungry. So we do eat a lot of different food on Thanksgiving. I'm sure, as all of you know, the kind of focal point of Thanksgiving is turkey, right? And that is because turkey is a wild animal, a wild bird that Native Americans ate traditionally, and still a lot of people will go turkey hunting. So turkey is kind of the staple or the main course of Thanksgiving. But in my opinion, most Americans, what we really treasure the most about Thanksgiving food is not the main course of the turkey, but are actually the side dishes. So let's take a look at some of the side dishes that Americans eat during Thanksgiving. So when we cook the turkey, we fill it with stuffing. And so stuffing is basically, it's like this bread type material that has herbs and spices. Sometimes also families will use celery or carrots. They will add that into the stuffing as well. And so because the stuffing is inside the turkey, when the turkey cooks, the juices and all that tasty goodness from the turkey then goes down into the stuffing. So the stuffing is really flavorful and delicious. It's a really, really good side dish. And then my all-time favorite side dish is cranberry sauce, which is basically, you can either make it homemade or buy it in a can in the United States. And cranberry sauce is this really kind of delicious, it's a little bit tart, so it's kind of sweet and kind of sour. And this is my favorite side dish. So you just take cranberries and then you kind of mash them up, and then I believe the process, if I remember correctly, you heat it up for a while and you put some sugar in it and you stir it, and then you let it sit and you let it cool. And cranberry sauce is generally served cold. So this is a cold side dish, whereas stuffing is actually usually more of a hotter side dish. And then obviously the big one is mashed potatoes and gravy. I would recommend, if you ever have the opportunity to celebrate Thanksgiving, either in the Czech Republic somewhere for some reason, or in the US, I would highly recommend also using that gravy as a sauce for your turkey. It just makes the turkey taste that much better. Cornbread is another really big staple or side. It's kind of a sweet bread, and as the name suggests, obviously it is made out of corn. And my favorite dessert for Thanksgiving is pumpkin pie. If you've never had pumpkin pie before, it is absolutely delicious. It actually has a little bit of I don't know if spicy is quite the right word for it, but it has a different taste than a normal or typical pie. It is also a little bit sweet, but it also has a little bit of tartness to it as well. And most Americans will have their pumpkin pie with a little bit of whipped cream as well. And after dinner, Generally speaking, most Americans, we overeat during Thanksgiving, so we feel kind of like this cat, and we are very, very full usually after dinner. And so I will tell all of you, for Thanksgiving, we usually will eat dinner, at least in my family, we tend to eat dinner actually around 2 or 3 p.m. So we will eat dinner fairly early. What I will do is I will fast, so I will not eat any food until we have our Thanksgiving dinner, just so I can really enjoy all of that Thanksgiving food. And I know a lot of my friends also do the same. And now after we eat our food, generally there's usually about two or three NFL, National Football League, American football games on television. And a lot of families will watch the football game after they're done eating. I will tell all of you, this is generally when I take a nap because I am in a food coma and I've eaten too much food, but a lot of Americans will watch the football game. And where I'm from in Michigan, usually the Detroit Lions, that is our football team, and they almost always have a Thanksgiving game. Because our team is terrible, they lose almost every year as well. So that is another reason why I tend to sleep during the football games. So now let's move on and talk about Christmas. I'm not going to spend very much time on Christmas because I think a lot of the traditions are very similar. There are some differences. The main difference is that in the US, we open gifts on the 25th of December. If I remember correctly, and Christina, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think in the Czech Republic, you open them more on the 24th. Is that correct? Yeah, so for us, that would be Christmas Eve, the night before Christmas. Some families may open up 1 or 2 presents, but most families in the US will open up their presents on the morning of the 25th. And as all of you probably know, we put the presents under the tree, and smaller gifts we will put in stockings that are hung on the mantle or the fireplace. And generally the gifts for stockings would be something like candy. When I was younger, when CDs were popular, a CD would be another gift you could put in there. I guess nowadays, maybe like some ear pods or like some headphones would be a okay, gift for a stocking. And we always hang these on the fireplace. Okay, so as all of you know, we also decorate Christmas trees in the US. I would say an important vocabulary word for students to know would be ornaments, right? Ornaments are the decorations we put on the tree. And some families actually will make it a tradition to go out to either a tree farm or go out into the forest, find a pine tree and chop it down and bring it home. I will tell all of you in my family, it's just simply too much work. So we have a fake Christmas tree that we use every year. And the fake tree is kind of nice because you know the size, it's not as messy as a normal tree, and you don't have to go through all the work of going to the forest and chopping a tree down. And as all of you know, the gifts are placed under the tree, and we usually will put an angel or some type of star at the very top of the tree. And as all of you know as well, Santa Claus is the main figure during Christmas. I would say that I was probably 10, 11, or 12 when I was told the sad news that Santa is not real. But it's that's one of the great things about Christmas is Christmas in the US and I think in the Czech Republic as well. This time of year kind of has this very magical kind of atmosphere or aura, right? And so Santa kind of adds to that, right? So with young children, that's kind of the fun with Christmas is to, have fun by, telling the children about Santa and everything like that. And so Santa is the one who comes down our chimney. Many children will have many questions for their parents about how Santa comes down the chimney. I can tell all of you the answer is always magic. How does Santa do it? It's magic. So if you ever need a good explanation for Santa Claus, those are the 2 words you need. It's magic. And then you are good to go. And Santa flies around the world in a sleigh with I believe there are 12 reindeer. And the lead reindeer is Rudolph, the red-nosed reindeer. I'm sure some of you have maybe heard the story. So that is some info about Christmas. And Santa is the one who chooses if you have been naughty, so bad, or nice, which would be good, well-behaved. And if you're naughty, you get lumps of coal, right? If you're good, you will get presents. And I can tell you that children in the US, they fear getting coal for Christmas. It is it is the last thing you want. Excuse me. It is the last thing you want for Christmas. And some parents will also get their children fake coal. It looks like coal, but it's actually candy in a wrapper as a joke or a prank. So that can also be a kind of a funny prank. But some children who are a bit more sensitive, you might want to be careful with that. Good. And the key here is many children also ask, how is it possible that Santa is able to deliver so many presents, right? If you actually think about how much money it would cost, it would be impossible, right? So what happens is Santa has elves, which are these kind of funny looking characters here that are his assistants, and they are the ones who make all of the toys for the boys and girls of the world. And just like Thanksgiving, a key with Christmas is it's celebrated with family. And many families will either wear these kind of silly Santa hats or matching Christmas pajamas when they open up their gifts. And many families will also take pictures by the Christmas tree when they're opening up gifts. I'm sure if I looked in my photo albums, I could find a lot of pictures when I was younger when we were giving gifts. And this was actually one of my favorite things about Christmas time in the Czech Republic. I'll tell you all a little secret. I think Czech Christmas cookies are much better than American Christmas cookies. But both cultures, we do have a celebration of eating and making a lot of Christmas cookies. My mother makes Christmas cookies a lot with my nephews. When I was younger, I would also make the Christmas cookies with her. And a lot of Americans, we will decorate them. So it's a lot of fun. I will say, though, the main cultural difference that I experienced in the Czech Republic was that I think in the Czech Republic, you have many different kinds of Christmas cookies. In the United States, we have more just, I think the Czech word would be cukroví, which would be the sugar cookies. I'm surprised I still remember some of these Czech words. But so most of our cookies are these more sugar cookie type of cookies, and then we decorate them. So I can tell all of you in terms of taste and flavor, in the Czech Republic, you actually have a much better selection. So that's definitely something you should all be proud of in terms of Czech culture. Okay. So now as some of you probably can imagine, I had to skip New Year's Eve. Well, I didn't have to, but I decided to skip New Year's because the traditions are basically the same, to be honest, with the US and the Czech Republic. I will say, though, I think actually in the Czech Republic, there are more fireworks, which surprised me. I thought there would be more fireworks in the US, but I think there are more fireworks in the Czech Republic. Okay, so now let's talk about Valentine's Day. So here, this little pink figure or silhouette right here, this is Cupid, right? And so Cupid is the one who shoots the love arrows into you that makes you fall in love with someone. Now, I will tell you, many Americans will also call Valentine's Day something called a Hallmark holiday. I'll write that in the chat for the people in Zoom. Hallmark, for those of you who don't know, is a very famous greeting card company in America. And so what Americans do with Hallmark holidays is they basically are calling this holiday a commercial holiday. So they say that there's really, the main reason why we celebrate Thanksgiving is to give gifts, basically to buy things, right? And to some extent, I would say that is true. And so one of the first things that we do in related to Valentine's Day is in school, the children will go around, they'll have their own custom-made Valentine's Day card box, and the children will exchange cards with one another in school. So that is a really, really popular thing. At least when I was in school, that's what we did. I'm not sure if they still do it. The only negative thing about this, as you can imagine, is it can become kind of a popularity contest. So some kids might get many, many Valentine's Day cards, and then some children may not. And so generally in school, what I remember is we had to write a Valentine's Day card for all of our classmates, just so it was fair for everyone else. But you have to be careful with that when you teach, and you have Valentine's Day lessons in the US to not make it be a popularity contest. And so kind of a funny thing about Thanksgiving, I'm not sure if any of you are aware of this, but in the United States, we have a very popular chocolate by the company Hershey's called Hershey's Kisses. And so what a lot of people will do on Valentine's Day is you will give or receive Hershey's Kisses. And so some Americans, as a joke, they might say to someone, do you want a kiss? And if you are unaware of the name of this candy, you might say no. And then someone would say, oh, that's too bad. I wanted to give you a chocolate. So that's also kind of a fun thing younger kids will do for Valentine's Day. And now as you get older, once we move past the stage in school where you're writing Valentine's Day cards for your classmates, as you get older into high school and college, generally speaking, guys will give their Valentines or the ladies they're interested in roses. To be honest, I'm not actually sure how this would work in terms of same-sex couples. I would imagine that just both of them probably get each other gifts. I will say that generally speaking, at least in my own personal experience, Thanksgiving has been more the guy giving the gifts to the girl to show their love and affection. I'm not saying it can't work both ways, but at least culturally in the US, it seems like generally the expectation is more on the guy to give roses or chocolates and also book a reservation for a restaurant. We'll tell all of you that if you ever come to America and you have a Valentine and you want to take them out, make sure to reserve a table far in advance because many people have the same idea. I would say it's even better, more romantic for Thanksgiving to do something nice at home. But that's my own opinion, cook a meal together. But some people also like to go out to dinner, but make sure you book in advance. And like most holidays, Thanksgiving is really a great excuse to enjoy and eat lots of sweets and candy. And these hearts right here on the right, they are incredibly popular. I remember, as long as I can remember when I was young, we have always had these little candies, and these are always kind of fun because you can give some of them to your friends, right? Like text me or you rock or sweet love, right? So you can give these candies to your friends and kind of give them kind of a fun message as well. I will tell all of you though, these candies, I think they're actually more well known for the funny text. They don't actually taste very good. They kind of taste like sugared chalk. Not that I've ever eaten chalk, but it has kind of a similar texture. So they're not very tasty. And as we mentioned with the vocabulary, Valentine's Day can be an opportunity for someone to reach out to their secret, and well, not reach out, but for the secret admirer to reach out to whoever they may have a crush on or may have some romantic feelings for. And this picture here is just a student posting like a sticky note on someone's locker. So that definitely happens in the US. I definitely, when I was younger, had gotten a couple cards slipped into my locker. I do know based on the handwriting, one of them was a joke from my friend. So that's also something that can happen during Thanksgiving as well. Yes, absolutely, Christina. Thank you. So to have a crush on. So have a crush on is an idiom that basically means that you like someone, but generally if you have a crush on someone, someone doesn't actually know about it. But yeah, so having a crush just means having like romantic feelings or special feelings for someone, to like them more than a friend. So thank you for reminding me, Christina. Okay, so St. Patrick's Day. So really, St. Patrick's Day, if I were to define it in 3 words, I would say Irish, green, and party and or beer. Because really that is this holiday, the kind of the joke in the United States is on St. Patrick's Day, everyone is Irish, right? So what this means is even if you don't have an Irish heritage or background, St. Patrick's Day is the day to celebrate being Irish, even if you're not Irish. And this is kind of a hat that like a leprechaun would wear, for example. And here we can see actually, well, these are all 3-leaf clovers, right? A 4-leaf clover would have another leaf right here. But these clovers are also very popular in Irish culture. And so the origin of it comes from a saint, St. Patrick, who is one of the people known to have brought Christianity to Ireland. And he's also known in folklore for the person who actually got rid of all the snakes in Ireland, but that's more of like a legend or a fable. And as I mentioned, really what we do for St. Patrick's Day, it's all just one big party. I can tell all of you this year, because it was in March, right when the lockdown happened, there were not your typical St. Patrick's Day parties or parades, but most people will wear green, and then you also will drink green colored beer. So that's a really popular thing. And then leprechauns are really the focal point of kind of Irish culture, or at least a figure in Irish culture that we use during St. Patrick's Day. And as I said, if you find a leprechaun and you follow them to the end of the rainbow, you will find their pot of gold. That is kind of the funny little cultural story. And four-leaf clovers are good luck. So if you find a four-leaf clover, that means you will have good luck. All right, so now Easter. Easter is the Sunday after the first full moon after the spring equinox. And Easter is a holiday that we celebrate in the US and in the Czech Republic to kind of celebrate the coming of spring. Also, I believe, if I remember correctly, eggs are also kind of a symbol of fertility and new life. And the history of Easter, obviously, is to commemorate the resurrection of Jesus Christ. So once again, rebirth, right? Coming alive. So that is really a key aspect of Easter. However, although its roots are in Christianity, like many of the holidays we have discussed today, most people celebrate it and associate it more with bunnies, eggs, and springtime than they do with Christianity. There are still some people that will go to like Easter Mass, or they will go to church on Easter, but the majority of Americans now, Easter is more known as a holiday associated with springtime, with bunnies and with eggs. And once again, like many of our other holidays, we can eat lots of candy, lots of sweets. And I would highly recommend, if you've never tried a Cadbury cream egg, if you ever stumble across one of them, I would highly recommend them. They are delicious, really, really tasty. Peeps are another very popular Easter treat. It's basically a marshmallow bird or bunny usually. And then we also have these chocolate bunnies as well, which I'm pretty sure you also have in the Czech Republic, if I remember correctly. I thought I saw some. And the big tradition, and this is a similarity between US and the Czech Republic, right, is painting eggs. And we generally use pastel colors. So these kind of lighter purples, lighter blues, lighter yellow, light pink. Right, so these are, this would be a similarity between Czech and US Easter traditions. Now I can tell all of you the tradition with pomlaska in Czech is very different, and many of my American friends did not believe me when I told them about Czech Easter traditions. They did not believe that people actually sat and would make their own pomlaska. I had a colleague at my school who actually made one for me because I did not know how to make one. And then when I told my American friends about this tradition, they could not believe it. So that is definitely something worth highlighting in the Maturita if you get the topic of talking about holidays and talking about Easter. And yeah, many Americans, I don't find it shocking because I think it's just a cultural tradition, right? And I think the importance of learning about culture and discussing culture is not to label culture as good or bad, but just as different, right? If you label Czech Easter traditions and US Easter traditions as being different, that's not saying that one is better than the other or one is worse, but they just have different customs, right? So yeah, and Easter egg hunts can be very, very popular as well. And every year, there usually is what they call the White House Easter egg roll, where kids will have a spoon and they need to roll the egg across the lawn, and the first person to roll the egg across the lawn wins. All right, so now we are coming up to our last holiday for today, which is Independence Day, the 4th of July. And I can tell all of you, if you enjoy the colors red, white, and blue, this holiday is for you because you will see it everywhere. You will see American flags and red, white, and blue everywhere. And so the origins of this holiday obviously are when the United States gained independence from Great Britain on July 4th, 1776. And really, this holiday is just a big excuse to go outside because it's summertime, to go outside, fire up the grill or the barbecue, and have a lot of really delicious hamburgers, hot dogs, chicken, corn, whatever you have, whatever you want to have in terms of food. And so we eat a lot of food on 4th of July. And then we also have usually like American flag, I don't know, napkins. Some people will have red, white, and blue bowls. Americans are very patriotic with their red, white, and blue, and you see it a lot. So you really see it a lot. You also will see parades, for example, and usually during the parades, there's also some military parades during the 4th of July. You'll have different organizations in the community will also come out for the parade. My favorite thing about parades in the US, especially 4th of July, is you can see a lot of old classic cars. So you can see old cars like the Ford Model T, or really old Ford Mustangs, or some older Camaros. So you can see some really great cars during the parades during the 4th of July as well. And in the evening, usually around 8:30 or 9 p.m., most Americans will either gather in a park, or in Michigan, we have many lakes. And so many Americans will go out on their boat, and then they will go on their boats, and then they will watch the fireworks at night. And Petra said, you eat so much in America. Yes, we do. If there's anything that all of you will probably take away from today is that every holiday tradition has some food related to it. So that could also be something useful to discuss during the Maturita, is what foods might be associated with certain holidays. So that is all I have for all of you today. We have a few minutes left. What questions do you have? And you're welcome to ask me whatever you would like about holidays, about US, anything like that. So yes.
Have you already picked your presents for Christmas?
Very good question. Yes, I have. I've bought presents for my 2 nephews and for my parents. I'm still waiting for a few other gifts. So yeah, very good question. Tomasz asks, are you happy that Biden won? Yes, but I also want to see what will happen. I don't know what he will do as president. So we will see. We will see. Mm-hmm. What food is associated to St. Patrick's Day? That is a great question, Petra. I would say the biggest food associated with St. Patrick's Day is, what is it called? It's basically, it's like a traditional Irish dinner. It's a traditional Irish dinner that's usually cabbage with some type of beef or meat. So we call it a traditional Irish dinner. Very good. Ivana says,
"Is it going to be different this year because of COVID?"
Can you repeat the question? Sorry.
Is Christmas going to be different because of COVID?
Oh yes, yes, very different. I think some families will meet, but I think many families will actually do like a virtual meeting. In my family, we'll be doing a virtual meeting, and so we will meet online and open up presents that way. And also, hello, Ivana. I miss Chomutov as well. I really do. What other questions do all of you have about? It can be about anything, holidays, life in the United States. I'm happy to share. What would you like to know?
Well, if there are no questions at the moment, let me share. Oh, there is a question now. Perfect.
Yes. Do you paint hard-boiled eggs or hollow eggs? So in families, we generally will paint the hard-boiled eggs. The people will do the hollowed eggs are generally people who will actually sell their eggs or will use them as decoration for many years. So if you want to actually have something more permanent, we hollow out the eggs. But usually, and in my family, we always had hard-boiled, and then we would eat them afterwards. Petra asks, what do you like most about the Czech Republic? That's a difficult question. There's so many things I like. I mean, I love the food. Řízek, svíčková, naklademný hermelín. I love the food, the landscape. Czech people are so great, although I will say Americans tend to be a little bit more warm and friendly in the beginning. With Czech people, at least my experience, is that Czech people are a little bit more reserved at first, but when you really get to know Czech people, they can be some of the nicest, friendliest, kindest people. I have some amazing colleagues from my time in Chomutov that I'm still in contact with, and I really miss it. I hope to come back soon. So yeah, I like many things, but I would say the food, the landscape, and the people. What's my favorite thing about America? I would say the diversity. I really like that in the US we have, so for example, in Detroit, there are so many different restaurants, many different people, lots of great different types of music. So in America, we do have a lot of just different influences, different people. So that's probably my favorite thing about America. Good, thank you. Yeah, I've been lazy with my beard. Dziękuję, Petra. My Czech needs some practice. Did I try fried carp? So no, unfortunately, that was my one mistake, is I actually had my family come visit during Christmas. So I was showing them around, and I actually was in Austria during Christmas. So we had some really good Wiener Schnitzel, but I did not try fried carp. But that is a great topic to talk about during the Maturita. And I can tell you, when I told my American friends about some Czech families having the carp in the bathtub, they also thought I was crazy. They thought there's no way people still do this in modern times. And I said, yes, depending on the town or village or city, some people do. Good. Oh, Daniel asks, how can you sleep knowing that the next day, the next morning, you can open your presents? I can tell you, Daniel, and also hello, Daniel. It's great to see you here. When I was a kid, it was really difficult to fall asleep. I think that was probably always, for most children, the most exciting night of the year. As you get older, I guess I'm still excited to open presents and to give my family presents, but as a kid, really, I didn't sleep very much, and my parents made the rule I could not wake them up until at least 7:30 or 8 a.m. because I would wake up at 4 or 5 a.m. ready to open my presents, very excited. And so that's what I think a lot of families do. Oh, very fascinating question. Have I ever thrown up on Thanksgiving? I have not, but I've definitely been uncomfortably full, just where you've eaten too much. But I'm sure there are some Americans who have probably overeaten way too much, and that has happened to them before. The tricky thing about Thanksgiving is usually people will get multiple plates. So you get your first plate, you eat it, and there's still so much food left. So then you go back, and then you go back. So it's very easy to eat way too much food over a few hours. Well, thank you, Petra. I hope you enjoyed today's lesson and you learned something from it. Are there any other questions?
What time is it in your place?
Right now, it is 9:03 a.m. So we are 6 hours behind the Czech Republic.
And can you sing some Czech carols?
Oh, I used to know a few Czech carols. I know Silent Night, isn't that Ticha Noc? Is that right? I was actually in a choir in Chomutov for a little while, and so I did learn a couple Christmas songs, and then I think the favorite song that I learned that I can't sing anymore was Prší Prší. That was one of my favorite songs to sing. Very good question.
This isn't a carol.
No, it's not a carol, just a song. Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah, any other questions? These are all fantastic questions. What is your favorite Christmas movie, Mathieu asks? Good question. I think my favorite is probably, it's called The Grinch, and it's the one with Jim Carrey. There's a new one that's animated with Benedict Cumberbatch. I think the original, The Grinch, with Jim Carrey, is one of my favorite Christmas movies. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And as I said, if you have any other questions or you would like to connect with an American, this is my email account. You all are welcome to send me an email if you have any questions. Yes, Petra, I would agree. The original is definitely better than the animated one. So I want to thank you all so much for your participation and listening today. And I hope you all were able to learn something new about American culture. I want to give a special thanks to Christina and the entire office in Prague for the Czech Fulbright for allowing me to come on and give this presentation. And I would like to give special thanks to all of my former colleagues in Chomutov. I miss all of you very much, and I hope you all have been doing well. And it was great to see some of my former students in the chat as well. So I hope you all have a wonderful day, very happy holidays. And as I said, if you have any questions or you would like to get in touch with me, here is my email. It's just my name, chadbousley@gmail.com. I would be happy to answer any other questions. So happy holidays, have a very Merry Christmas and a very Happy New Year. And I want to thank all of you for coming today.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
Bye-bye.
Thank you
You're
all
welcome.
for participating. Many of you participated here. There were 20 more people watching on Zoom, and we look forward to seeing and meeting many of you again, either on Monday or later in January, February, and March, when we plan to continue with these live lessons. So in the upcoming days, we may ask you to share some feedback with us so that we can make the future lessons really based on your needs and expectations. Huge thank you to Chet today for volunteering to do this. It was excellent. And we really appreciate the fact that we are able to stay in touch with Czech students and our American alumni, at least this way. And as we discussed prior to the webinar, this is a challenging time for everyone. At the same time, there are some new things that we can take advantage of, and this online communication enables to make bridges between people across the Atlantic and here in the Czech Republic. So we hope you enjoyed it today, and we look forward to seeing you at any of the future live lessons. Thank you all for being here with us.